Are we on the record? Are we good over there? Okay, all right. I'll call the meeting to order of State Government Policy, Finance, and Elections Committee. Today being Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. So welcome, everybody. This is the 2022 final meeting of State Government Policy, Finance, and Elections. And I will start out today by having the roll, and Ms. Wilson, if you take the roll.
Senator Kiffmeyer.
Present.
Senator Howe.
Present.
Senator Carlson. Senator Clausen. Senator Fateh. Senator Koran. Senator Pratt. Senator Osmick. Senator Carlson. Senator Clausen. Senator Koran. Senator Pratt. Senator Osmick.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilson. We do have, who is the Senator Pratt? And Clausen, Senator Clausen are both logged in, but we're doing double duty here right now. So when it comes time for a vote, we do have a quorum. And so we are able to go ahead, and Senator Rosen, if you want to go ahead, we'll take Senate File 3541. I'll move it and it's placed in front of the committee today. And I know a lot of work has gone on. You met late yesterday and many conversations, Senator Rosen. And so the work of the Pension Commission, always important part of the work we do here at the legislature. And when you're set up there, Senator Rosen, you're glad to go ahead and again, your name and title for the audio, and then go ahead and present the bill.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and Senator Julie Rosen, Chair of Finance, and honored to be the author of Senate File 3541, which is the Pension Finance Omnibus Bill. And before I start, I would just like to thank many that are in the audience here. The directors of the funds have been amazing through this whole process, and many of the other people that have got a vested interest in this bill. And I'd like to just give a shout out to Brian Rice too. He's been amazing too. But Senate File 3541 is an opportunity to benefit 800,000 past and present public employees directly through this bill. It improves Minnesota's ability to attract and retain members of our workforce in the critical areas of law enforcement. Our shortages in public safety, firefighters, state troopers, we're all very well aware of. And of course, our teaching profession, they have shortages, retention issues also. And our other employees working in the education field and all the other state employees. So this is a combination of a lot of work by many people to come to Senate File 3541, which is going to mitigate the impact of inflation for nearly 140,000 Minnesota public retirees who are currently receiving a 1% COLA, and creating equity among Minnesota's retirees with all are going to be receiving a 1.5% COLA. It also lowers the actives contribution rates for over 300,000 public employees that would promote retention and fighting inflation on wages. And last but not least, and very important part of this, it brings the assumed rate of return from 7.5% down to 7%, which we made an adjustment in 2018. And we thought we were the leaders of the pack, and we were for a while, and now all of a sudden at 7.5%, we are trailing behind all the other states. And it's very important to bring that rate of return down to 7%, especially when we go out to capture bonds and our state financial stability. If I could, Madam Chair, just go through briefly, I also have Ms. Lincheski and Mr. Burkick here from our Legislative Commission that are well-versed in all the nuances of the bill, but I'd like to give just an overview of what we're doing for the fiscal considerations. First of all, the policy consideration Senator Jasinski had a bill in to lower the vesting period for our para, police, and fire plans from the current 20-year down to 10-year, which would bring para, police, and fire into parity with all the other plans, and it would match up with state patrol. And then also Senator Senjum allows retired para, police, and fire plan members, as well as state patrol, to be reemployed with no salary cap and without losing their retiree benefit, pension benefits. And the troopers may only be reemployed until age 60. But the nuts and bolts of the bill, Madam Chair, is, we'll start off with the police, para, police, and fire plan. And right now, they're at 11.8% employee contribution, and we are going to be lowering that down by 2.4% for the employee's contribution. And then again, that will bring it into parity with state patrol. I thought I was organized, Madam Chair, but no. Oh, here it is. And then we also have increasing the COLA for police and fire from 1% to 1.5%, and that is at a cost of $46 million, and that's very important to do. We're removing the sunset provision for the state funding commitments, which is right now $9 million and $9 million, but when there is language that says when it's 100% funded for 2 consecutive years, then that can be adjusted. There is a work group that's working on that right now. And as I said, the 2.4% employee contribution reduction is a cost of $26 million. And then MSRS Troopers Plan, they have one of the highest contribution rates for the employees, which is 15.4%, and we're bringing that down 4.9%, just not complete parity, but to bring it into a more average across the board. And that's a cost of $4.5 million. And we're increasing the COLA from 1 to 1.5% at a cost of $4.4 million. The COLA and contribution rates adjustments for St. Paul teachers is reducing the employee contribution from 7.75% to 7.25%. And that's a cost of $670,000, and then increasing their fixed COLA at 1% to 1.5%. That's the cost of $6.1 million. TRA we'd be reducing the employee contribution from 7.75% to 7.25%. That's a cost of $12.1 million. But there is, in order to keep that at that level, we have to pay $30 million in the tails to keep it lower, and these folks could probably explain that a little better than what I just did. And also the COLA was scheduled to increase 0.1% over each years until it reached 2026, but we're increasing it from 1 to 1.5% for a cost of $6.8 million. MSRS Correctional is a supplemental increase and a reduction of the employee contribution by 2.1%, which would cost $6 million. And MSRS General is a reduce the employee contribution by 0.25%, and that was scheduled to go to 1.5% in 2023. That's a cost of $8 million. And Para General, reduce the employee contribution by 0.25%, and that's a cost of $17 million. A very important piece, though, that I think makes this all much more attractive is the assumed rate of return, as I said, from 7.5 to 7%. Para is absorbing the cost for that move at $67 million. MSRS Troopers, their annual cost would be $5.5 million. MSRS Correctional would be absorbing the cost at $11 million. And MSRS General would be absorbing the cost of $82 million. St. Paul Teachers Fund would have an annual cost that we would pick up at $6.35 million. And TRA is absorbing this rate of return reduction at $179 million. So with that, Madam Chair and members, that is the package. The total pension package is $152.5 million for FY23, and the tails cost for FY24 and 25 is $335.8 million. 335.8 million, excuse me. And that is the bill. We had a very good pension hearing last night, and we had testimony from everyone. Besides the directors, we also had testimony from the police, firefighters, ASME, Teamsters Union, Education Minnesota. There were some people that were not happy with TRA and the two-tiered approach that we have taken or not taken. And, but for the most part, it is, I think, definitely a joint work of effort here. And if I could, just to round out the edges, Madam Chair, if I could turn it over to Ms. Lancheski or Mr. Burkett.
Thank you very much, Senator Rosen. Ms. Lancheski.
Thank you, Senator Kiffmeyer. I'll just provide a few more details, as Senator Rosen mentioned, just to round out a little bit more. With regard to the employee contributions rates and those decreases, those are set out in detail in the summary that we provided on page 2. A couple of plans will have a different impact. For instance, the MSRS unclassified plan will go also from, let's see, MSRS will go from 6 to 5 3/4 because it is tied to the MSRS general plan. With regard to the judges, legislators, and paracorrectional, there is no change in those employee contribution rates in the bill. Article 2 addresses the post-retirement adjustments or COLAs. There is no change in the COLAs for several of the plans, MSRS correctional and judges plans. They are already at 1.5%, so no need to change the COLA for those two plans. And then the two para plans, para general and correctional plans that are tied to the COLA for Social Security, there is no change in those as well. Article 3, the employer contribution rate for police and fire. Just a brief explanation of what's happening there. Under the statutes, there needs to be a ratio of 40% to 60%, whereas 40 is the employee contribution, 60% is the employer contribution. We had to do a little adjusting on that when the employee contribution rate was reduced in the bill. That meant that that ratio was off. So the employer contribution was also reduced, but then to compensate for that, there's now a supplemental employer contribution that is in the bill that will offset the cost of the employer contribution reduction. That will maintain the 40-60 split. Turning it over to Chad for Article 4.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lancheski. Mr. Burdick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chad Burkett with the LCPR. Continuing on with Article 4, which starts on page 12 in the A22-0476 amendment. Article 4 has two policy provisions. One deals with vesting, which Senator Rosen described. It's reducing the current vesting schedule for PNF members from a 20-year schedule to a 10-year fixed cliff schedule. And the other policy provision deals with the reemployment of retirees. It permits a retiree to return to employment with the PNF plan and continue to receive their benefit. It's a similar provision to what's been done for nurses and for teachers this year. Article 5 is the article that reduced the investment rate of return assumption from 7.5% to 7%. Article 6 contains several direct state aid increases that will pay for the things that have been outlined already in the bill. So it includes a direct state aid to the MSRS general plan of $8 million, to the MSRS correctional plan of $6 million, to the MSRS state patrol plan of $14.5 million, the para general plan, $17 million, the para police and fire plan, $84 million. And I'll just note that's actually an increase of $75 million. There's currently $9 million there. To TRA of $7 million and to St. Paul teachers of $12 million. Article 7 deals with the funding of the teacher plan employer contribution increases. And the way that's done is that the employer contribution is increased to offset the reduction in the employee contribution rate, 0.25% in FY23 and an additional 0.25% in FY24. And then the school districts, the state covers the cost of the school districts through the change in the pension revenue adjustment formula. And then finally, in section 4 of that article, there's an appropriation to the Department of Education for $12,774,000 to pay for the change in the pension revenue adjustment formula. And then finally, Article 8 appropriates $30,000 to the Legislative Coordinating Commission for the LCPR to pay for actuarial costs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burdick. Anything else, Senator Rosen? Otherwise, I'll go to member questions if they have any.
No, Madam Chair, that is it. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from members? Okay, seeing none. Senator Rosen, we need to adopt the amendment, so I will move let me get the number right here. I will move the A22 amendment to Senate File 3541. On that motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. The A22 amendment is adopted. And any further discussion or comments? Senator Rosen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really, I sincerely thank you for this expedited hearing and getting this moving. We were saying last night that the last pension hearing was March 22nd, and we did a great policy bill that is actually coming over from the House today. So we do have a pension policy bill that will be accepted from the House, and we've done some good work in pensions. It's been an honor to serve as chair for the last 2 years. But this is something I feel very strongly about, is adjusting and making sure that we have pensions that work for these precious state employees going forward, and I think that's our responsibility. So thank you for your support, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Rosen. I appreciate all the work that you have done. You bring a lot of history and understanding of the process and all the issues that come into play here. It is really tremendous, and also the relationships with all of the plans, the staff, the Pension Commission, all of those things really contribute to the ability to be here today. And so, members, with that, I'll make the motion then that Senate File 3541 as amended be recommended to pass and be re-referred to the Finance Committee. On that motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. Senator Rosen, you're on your way to Finance Committee.
Thank you so
I think
much.
you might have a welcome reception there as well.
That's, I think I need to bring donuts.
Lots of them.
Lots of them. And there'll be 2 empty spots on the Pension Commission next year, members. I'm just saying. Senator Senjum and I are retiring, so it's a
That's
great
going to be a
commission to on.
difficult place, but
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was
Okay, members, we will then go on to another bill as well. We have here today on our agenda, that is Senate File 3346. Senator Koran, as a member of the committee, Senator Koran, you can go ahead and, just a moment. And this is, okay, this is a House File 3346. So Senator Koran, go ahead and.
Thank you, Madam
present
Chair.
your-
I'd like to move House File 3346. And
All
then,
right,
Madam
Senator
Chair.
Koran, go ahead and present your.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we also have an A2 amendment. So first stop, author's amendment. I'd like to move the A2 amendment to Senate File 3346.
On that motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. The A2 amendment is adopted to House File 3346. Senator Koran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll just cover the highlight of the highest level of what the A2 amendment does is the collective bargaining agreements. At the time this bill was passed off the House, there were a couple additional collective bargaining units and a couple memorandums of understanding which were passed since then. This brings the bill into compliance or matches what the House passed off the floor. So it includes the collective bargaining units for the Minnesota Law Enforcement Association, Office of the Legislative Auditor, additional memorandums around the Middle Management Association, Minnesota Law Enforcement Association, as well as the State Residential School Education Association. So with that, Madam Chair, These are the labor contracts. I believe it's all of them. And I have Ms. Weber here with us if we need additional clarity. But what this bill does cover is it covers it from the 2021 Law Enforcement Association contract. It includes the 2022, 2023 contracts for AFSCME, MAPE, Middle Management Association, the State Residential School Association, Minnesota Nurses Association, the MLEA, and the employees covered under the compensation plans such as the managerial plan commissioners and the Office of the Legislative Auditor plan. Also includes the 2022-23 plans for Minnesota state agreements and plans, as well as several memorandums of understanding. In the 2021 MLE contract, and it's pretty much across the board on average for all the contracts, the initial increase for 2021, or for the 2020, is 2.2% and 2.5%, and the 2022-23 agreements is 2.5% across the board. And so the agreements are submitted from middle management in the budget, MMB. It really covers 39,000 individuals who work across all facets of state government throughout the state, serving Minnesota citizens. The contracts also cover all the state, Minnesota state programs, which includes about 4,500 employees. And throughout those, we saw no significant changes in the benefits, but just a couple of the MOUs that have been passed as well to provide some incentives for employees for additional work shifts, 24-hour positions, some financial incentives, or some creativity for referrals, recruitment, and retention of really hard-to-fill positions, which I think today, Madam Chair, that would be almost every position in every country or every company across the state. Permits employees to use sick leave to care for minor children when required to quarantine, creates the pay equity adjustments for radio operators, and creates new salary ranges for law enforcement supervisors. And Madam Chair, from the benefits perspective, there are really no underlying changes for the medical plan. All of those things stay the same. Some of the key things that changed, some emergency room out-of-pocket costs were changed in the various cost levels. And then the biggest change is the dental plan. The open enrollment is held in both years of the contract instead of just the first year. And then on average, the medical premiums estimated to increase about 3% per year over the collective bargaining units. The fiscal impact for these contracts collectively would be in biennium new monies would be about $468 million, and the impact on the next biennium for these contracts would be about $726 million. Madam Chair, that is the bill, and that's the highlights of the state employee contracts. And I'm not sure if Ms. Weber, if I've missed anything, she could add. If not, we'll stand for questions.
Thank you very much, Senator Koran. Ms. Weber, would you like to make a few comments?
Madam Chair, Michelle Weber with the Legislative Coordinating Commission, and we staff the Subcommittee on Employee Relations. Senator Koran did a great job. I don't have anything to add, but I'm available to assist if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Weber. Members, any questions or comments you'd like to make in regards to this bill? With that, Senator Koran, I would say this is like pensions. There's a lot of work that goes into this way before it gets to this stage at State Government Committee. And so I want to thank you for all of that work and everybody who participated in that. It's a very deep and wide bench that comes to this point. A lot of work having been done, and we appreciate everybody who has contributed to that tremendous effort as well as the work that is done. And you're correct, Senator Koran, the shortage of employees is going to be interesting to see, because I think this is going to be kind of a change, both with COVID and the telework kind of situation. And then also, I think we're seeing kind of a generational change in regards to how things are done, not the work that needs to be done, but how it may be done. And I don't think we're finished with it yet, but it will have an impact. Though I will say this, in-person meetings convey communications in a way that you can never, ever do on, I call it the flat Stanley Zoom meetings. Just having a one-dimensional is very limiting and I think very ineffective in many situations. So I also think of patients and telework and telecommunications and all of that. The assessment of all of that is extremely limited. And so word I want to say for in-person, be very, very careful. There are things that are rudimentary, that are yes, no, flat Stanley type things can work very, very well. It's kind of like text messages versus a phone call. But really want to say, be very, very careful about some of the assumptions in what we do. Well, with those comments, members, any other comments? This is again the employee contract subject here. Seeing none, Senator Koran, if you'd like to make the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'd like to just follow up on your comments is from the workforce of the adaptation of technology. And the remote workforce is a great adaptation and an augmentation of what we do, but not a replacement. And I will fight vehemently that in this body, we keep a component to it for accessibility to our citizens. Because you and I depend on expertise across the world. And so we'll fight vehemently to keep that component as a part of this body and function. I would like to thank Michelle Weber and again, all the crew and the MMB and everybody involved with it. And the one thing I did forget, Madam Chair, is the Subcommittee on Employee Relations, which I'm the Vice Chair, is that we did vote, not unanimously, but a majority voted in favor of these as a recommendation to pass out of the Subcommittee and Report of Employee Relations. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that Senate File HF 3346 as amended be recommended to pass and be referred to the Finance Committee.
On that motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. House File 3346 as amended is moved on to the Finance Committee. And members, before I close out this committee, I want to say a special thanks to Committee Administrator Alec Bjorn, to our committee legislative assistant, Ms. Christina Wilson. I want to say thank you to our staff, Ms. James, Mr. Erickson, and also Ms. Lexi Stengel, who is not here today because she's occupied in another way, but we want to say that there's one thing you really appreciate more and more every single year when you are in the legislature is the staff and the incredible value that they are. And to Joey Wiley. I know you so much as Joey, I always had to think about that, your last name. Joey Wiley, and also we have DFL as well, and we had Majerus, but I think there's been a change to Nathan Colton. Right, thank you very much. Appreciate all those as well. And also then the incredible staff, and to the members of our committee, Democrats and Republicans, thank you all for your attendance, for your contributions. We all understand, we try and make sure that we have the voice of everybody that is able to be here and appreciate, and then all the members of the public who are affected throughout the state of Minnesota, and all your emails, all your messages, all your testifying. There are just so many, so we appreciate all of you very, very much. And with that, the business being completed, State Government Policy, Finance, and Elections Committee, we are adjourned.